All right, Part 1111, Complaint Investigation Procedure 1, Pre-filing Procedure for the standalone cause case. 2, Content of the formal claims joined. 4, Services 5, Answer for the cross complaint with the 6th motion to dismiss to make it more definite. 7, the satisfaction complaint. 8, investigation board owns the motion. 9, procedural schedule of the standalone cause case. 10, procedural schedule of the case in either the simplified standards. 11, the meeting to discuss with the procedural matters. All right, 11 and 11. 1. Procedural filing procedure standalone covers journal at least 7 days prior to the proposed filing complaint channel the reasonable rail rated based on the standalone copy of the complaint with the ship of filed notice within the board of no shall identify the rate of the challenge, identify the origin of the destination of the challenge, and of the effective commodities, include the motion of the protective order of the set forth in Title 49 CFR 1104 14C. Liaison with the day of the filling of the pre-filing note if the board shall appoint the liaison to the part. 1102. 1111.2. Content of the formal complaint. The journal of the formal claim must be contained with the correct unbriefed name of the address of each of the complaints of them that should have with the briefly and plain line, which the fact that the underpound of the brief that should be included with the specific brief protecting the statutory provisions of the board of regulations should be provided to the board with the defendant fully with respect to the provision and regulation that violated the complaint should be contained detailed statement of the relief request of the relief and the alternative several different types of may be demanded with the issue of the brief of the formal complaint should now be broader than those of the complaint with the evidence of the direction if the complaint with the challenge responsible over the rail rate of the complaint should indicate whether in its view the reasonable with the rate should be explained with the using constrained market rating practice using simplified standards adopted and pursuing the Title 49 U.S. Standard Code 10701D3 with the complaint with the use of simplified standard that should support this request to make it the minimum following information care for the region identify the type of the shipment the local to receive the terminated the 1 day of the shipment name, the type of the car, URCS code, the number of the car, the ownership of the private railroad, the commodities type of the STCC code, the weight of the shipment in tons per car, the type of the movement, and the individual multi-car of the unit. Train, the narrative addressing whether there's infeasible transportation, all of those change no movements for 11 for a matter of the voluntary binding arbitration available to pursue Title 49 CFR 1108. The complaint with the state with the arbitration considered the rejected me with the result of the dispute. Disclosure. Simplified statement of the complaint must be provided with the defendant with the document of the relief upon the formulating assessment of the feasible transportation alternative. All documents will allow with the determining the input of the URC FA3 program. Will cover the action 2 or more grounds of the complaint determine the same principle. The subject of the statement of the fact that included with the one of the complaint should be stated with numbered separately, but joined or 2 more complaint with the may join the complaint with against the more defendant if the respectively cause of the action causing substantial with the same alleged violations likely the fact of the request of the action waybill data the participate the need of the access of the waybill sample to procure the case if the file in the corners of Title 49 CFR 1244-9 discover the standalone cause case using complaint with over the compliance shall certify that it has been served as initial discovery the request of the defendant 11.3 amendment of supplemental complaint with the amendment supplemental complaint 8010 for the filing with the complaint with against the defendant with the defendant's named in for the original complaint stating the cover of the action alleged for the has accrued with the statutory period over the media with the proceed with the day with the side of the tender in favor of the complaint with against the defendant's timeline the responsible demand with the suspended supplemental complaint with the completed pursuant to 11.11.5 11.11.6 if the amendment is supplemental complaint with the original complaint the standalone cover the complaint with the tender for the amendment with the supplement of that standalone call the case for the complaint shall certify that the serve the defendant with those of the initial discovery required as effective with the amendment of the supplemental complaint if any simplified standards of complaint with the file with the undersimplified standard that may be amended once before filing one opening of evidence for the out for the different rate with the responsibleness of the method of among with the 3 benchmark for the simplified SAC and the full ASAC amendment of the procedural schedule at the beginning again with the new methodology 4th 11 11 9 11 11 10 however that one of the meditation period of the complaint shall be required Heard 11 11 4 so the complaint is responsible for everything formal complaints amendment with the supplemental complaint for the cross of the complaints of the defendant the service shall maybe the same thing a copy of the complaint of the chief legal officer if the defendant either confirmed last mile the first get mile express overnight curve with the cover to page even last mile with the front with each for the first class mail with the overnight with the express over the courier available include the following lines and serve the transportation board complaints with the client shall be deemed complete with the day with which complaint is served the confirmed as fast mile or if the service is made available to express the overnight carrier on the date of the complaint actual receive the defendant when the complaint involved more than one defendant the server the complaint they shall be deemed the complaint pleaded on the date of the all defendants have the server the original 10 copies of the complaint shall be filed with the board together with the acknowledgement of the person served over the proof of the server the form of a statement of the date and manner of the server the manner names of the person served over the address which the papers were mailed which they delivered with the certified of the person made service of the complaint cannot serve the complaint original each of the complaint with the company with the server the number of the copy enabled serve one upon each of the defendants. Retaining 10 copies additional of the original should be filed with the board. Alright, 11.11.5. Answers and cross complaints. Generally, the answer shall be filed with the time that provided the paragraph C with the section. Answer should be responsible to the complaint and should be fully derived with the board. They are part of the nature of the defendant, but the answer for the complaint channels are reasonable enough the very rate. The defending with it should indicate whether that is consent with the board with the deprived from the jurisdiction of the here with the claim with the with the relevant value with the percentage generated with the traffic is left at 180%, or the traffic is subject to the effect of the product or the geographical composition. Responsible to the complaint file with undersimplified chain, but the answer must include the defendant with the preliminary assessment, variable cover and age of the challenge movement, calculating using the adjusted figure produced by the URCS Phase 3 program. Alright, disclosure of the simplified chain with the answer the defendant must provide the complaint with all the documents for the reliable determined input of the URCS Phase 3 program. The time of the filing copy considered with the answer must be filed within 20 days after the serve of the complaint within an additional time. The board must be provided with the original 10 copies with the answer must be filed with the board. The defendant must serve with the copies of the answer upon with the complaint with any other defendant with the cross complaint alleging violation of other parties with the proceeding seeking the relief against it may be filed with the answer for the cross complaint which will be filed within 20 days after the serve of the cross complaint with the party shall serve with the copies of the answer for the cross complaint upon the other parties. Failure to answer any other average complaint are omitted with no denied in the answer's complaint. Discovery of the standalone costs of the case. Upon filing the answer, the defendant shall certify with the server as initial discovery the request of the complaint. If the complaint tenders an amendment to the supplemental complaint in which the defendant must reply upon filing an answer of the amendment to the supplemental complaint with the defendant shall certify that it served on the complaint with the initial discovery the request for the effective of the amended supplemental complaint, if any. Art 11.11.6 motion to dismiss and make it more definite. Answer for the complaint with the cross complaint with may be accompanied with a motion for the dismiss complaint and with a cross complaint or a motion to make the complaint or the cross complaint more definite. Definite. The motion to dismiss cannot be filled at any time of the board proceed with the complaint with the cross of the complaint with may be within 10 days after the answer for the file motion to make the answer the more definite. The motion more make it the more definite, most specify the defect for the particular plea must describe the full additional information detailed through to be necessary. Part 11.11.7. The satisfaction of the claim. The defendant satisfied the formal complaint with each of the before with the after answer for the same with the effective sign of the complaint with must be filed with the original only with the file with the same for the how the complaint has been satisfied with the action should be taken as expeditiously as possible. Part 11.11.8. Investigation of the board own motion. The service of the decision instituting the investigation of the board's own motion will be served some of the boards upon responding to if within the time period is stated instituting the investigation respondent fails to comply with the requirements specify the decision the respondent will be deemed to default, but they have the way with the further proceed with the investigation may decide or with. 11.11.9. Procedural schedule and standalone cost cases. Procedural schedule. Absence of the special order by the board with the following general procedure schedule will apply with the standalone cost case with the pre-calaminate period an issue with the following notice. Day 0. Complaint filed the discovery of the period begins. Day 7 or before the conference party of the complaint and pursuant to 11.11.11.11. B. Day 28, the defendant answered for the complaint due the day 100. Discovery complete with the day 2210. 210. Complaint filed with the open evidence for the absence of an intermodule containing competition variable and cost of the standalone cost issue in the day 270. Defendant filed with the revised evidence complaint with the opening evidence day 305. Complaint filed with the rebuttal evidence defendant reply evidence day 335. The complaint to defend with the final briefs, day 4885 before the board issue the decision, staggered filings and final briefs. Party may submit the non-public confidential version filing with the date in identified procedure schedule to submit the public version of those filings. The 3 business thereafter. Final briefs are limited with 30 pages, including the exhibit. The conference with the party of the board will convey with the technical references of the party of the board staff of the following the evidence for the loan cost case of the poor purpose of the reaching agreement with the operating character of the U with the invariable cost of calculation movement the issue with the parties should be jointly proposed scheduled for the technical conference. In addition, the board may be convened with the conference of the party of the board staff after discovery the request the server before any motion compelled may be filed to discuss discover the matters in standalone cost rate of the case of the material parties shall be jointly provide purpose for the schedule of the discovered conference. Part 11.11.10. Procedural scheduling in case of using simplified standard procedural schedule specified as the board following the general procedure schedule of the will in the case of the simplified standards in case of relying on the simplified SAC methodology. Day 0 complaint following complaint disclosure date and meditation begins. Day 20, defendant and for the complaint include the defendant with the initial disclosure. Day 30, the meditation and the discovery begins. Day 140, defendant represented the disclosure. Day 150, discovery closes. Day 220, open to evidence. Day 280, reply evidence. Day 310, rebuttal evidence. Day 320, technical conference, market dominance, merits. Day 330, final brief additional with the board with appointment liaison of 10 business days, final complaint in the case of the relying on the 3 benchmark methodologies. Day 0, complaint filed with including complaint disclosure. Day 10, meditation begins with the Surface Transportation Board production unmasked way bills sample. Day 20, defendant answer for the complaint with included defendant initial disclosure. Day 30, meditation ends with the discovery begins. Day 60, discovery closes. Day 90, complaint opening with initial tender comparison group. The opening evidence market dominance of the defendant's opening initial and enter of the comparison group. Day 95, the technical conference of the comparison group. Day 120, the parties file with the end of the comparison group. The defendant replies on the market dominance. Day 150, parties reply with the final tender of the complainant's rebuttal with the market dominance. The addition of the board apply with appointment of the liaison 10 business days on the complaint. Standard file with the final brief. The parties may submit the non-bulk of the confidential, high confidential version of the filing with a date with the procedural schedule for the submitted public versions of those filings 3 business days after. In the case of the relying on the Simpson simplified SAC methodology, final briefing things are limited to the 30-page includes the exhibits. Defendant's second disclosure is in case of the simplified SAC methodology. The defendant must make with the filing disclosure for the complaint with the 170 with the procedural schedule, the identification of all the traffic that moved on the route of the route publication with the SAARR's test year. Information about those moved with the electronic form of the agreement with the original destination paired with the shipper with the shell on the original destination volume total revenue for each of the movement, total operating and equipment cost of the calculation each of the movement that provide the electronic format, review allocation from the one of the SAR, a portion of the crossover the movement in traffic group with the provide with electronic format. Total trackage, the rate for the payment to pay for the receiver during the test year with the associated with the route. Replicate the SAR, all work on the documentation necessary for the support of the calculation competent with the part of the boards may convey the conformance of the part of the board staff facilitate voluntary resolution and discover the dispute with the draft of the technical issues that may arrive at the complaint file with the petition revoke the class exemption if the final assignment for the petition revoke the class exemption. The board will take no action for the complaint with the procedural schedule will be in the health and bancy for the automatically in the position of the revoked educated. Art 11. Meeting discuss procedures. In all complaint with procedure of the other than check with the reasonable of the rail rate based on the standalone costs and the simplified standard of the parties shall meet. Discuss the telephone discovery procedural matter for the 12 days after the answer for the complaint is resolved. Within 19 days after the answer of the complaint is resolved, the party with each of the either jointly or separately with the shell with the report with the board saying with the procedural schedule to be given in the future. The activity of the deadlines in case standalone simplified standard complaint with the complaints challenging the reasonable enough of the railway based on standalone copy of the simplified standard. The parties shall be meet to discover the telephone there show thorough email discover the procedural meters of these procedural matters within 7 days of the complaint filed within the standalone case of the 7 days after the meditation period ends. The simplified standard the parties shall inform the board as soon as possible thereafter whether the unresolved dispute that require the board intervention and if the nature of such disputes. And now moving on to chapter 1112 modified procedures. This is part 11, complaint and investigation procedures.